Chapter 18, Robber. It was 6 a.m. and the phone broke the silence of the quiet morning. Dad hurried to pick up the phone. A worried look crossed over his face as he hung up. I have to leave. He grabbed a piece of toast from the toaster before heading out the door. There's been a break-in at the lighthouse where the teachers live. Once Dad arrived at the lighthouse, he found 4 very distressed young ladies. One of them frantically waved her hands, and her voice quivered as she said, I woke up to find a man standing in my room, but when he saw me, he turned and walked down the steps. Dad called the police and they came to investigate. A neighbor lady had also seen the man leave, so the police knew the teachers were not hallucinating. They gathered Dad and the ladies together to discuss their reports. Most robberies don't occur at 6 on a Saturday morning. It was probably someone who was either high on drugs or drunk from drinking too much last night, the policeman calmly stated. I don't understand how he could have gotten in, one of the girls wondered. We'll just make sure to change the locks and add some deadbolts, said Dad. The police officers tried to reassure the ladies that they were safe. Dad and the men of the church were careful to watch after them and make sure the doors were always locked after church. A week later, the phone rang. Oh no, I'll try to reach Dad. Mom ended the call and yelled for Brian and Marcus to go get Dad. He was visiting his friend Jake, who lived 1 block away on 17th Street. Someone just called from the lighthouse to say that there's a man trying to get into the house again. Brian breathlessly exclaimed to Dad and Jake. Dad immediately ran towards the lighthouse with Jake trailing behind him. Brian and Marcus trailed even farther behind. As they passed Yorgie's dry cleaning, Jake recognized 2 plainclothes policemen. There's a robbery up ahead, he called out. Because of the recent increase of robberies in the area, the police were staking out the area to try to apprehend the thief. Dad had barely entered the house when he was grabbed on either side by 2 rough-looking characters. He noticed one of them had a gun hidden under his coat. Fearing he was being jumped by the robbers, he braced for what would come next. He breathed a sigh of relief when the shaggy-haired policemen pulled out their badges and identified themselves as Reading police officers. What do you think you're doing? They demanded to know. Dad's relief quickly turned to defense as he tried to explain, I'm not the robber. The ladies heard the commotion and verified Dad's story. He's not the robber, he's the pastor. By now, several officers had surrounded the house and canine search dogs had arrived to comb the area, but even they couldn't find anything. Dad listened as the ladies told the police the entire story. There was a knock on the door, but we were in the kitchen. By the time we could get to the door, he had already gone around to the other side of the house. We caught a glimpse of him through the window, and he looked just like the man that was here before. Later on that evening, as the investigation was wrapping up, Elsie Gaiman, an older lady who lived in the other half of the house, came home. She picked up a slip of paper that was lying by her door and went to give it to the ladies next door. I wanted to let you know that there was a UPS man here earlier who tried to make a delivery, Elsie informed them. The ladies looked at each other and gasped. That's who it was! The police called the UPS office to verify that they had tried to make a delivery earlier that day. The delivery man had tried to make contact with someone in the house. There was no response, so he left. Thankfully, the drama was over, and there were no further problems at that time. The mystery of the first robbery that happened weeks earlier was never solved.